Congratulations, we've made it this far, and welcome to the last math swag of the year. Woo! Reflection time. In Google Classroom, please view the responses from last swag by clicking on the Responses link. Which were your favorites? Which ones could really help? Please push pause and add your thoughts in the class comments section below. Now it's time to reflect on what went well for you over the last 6 weeks. Click on the What Went Well link.
Hello, Irving ISD math teachers. It's Tasha Hofert, your elementary math coordinator. First, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to participate in our virtual swag session. Let's talk a bit about the concrete pictorial abstract progression. Concepts need to be introduced through hands-on experiences with manipulatives. This is very important as you plan your daily math block. As you are choosing learning activities for any part of your math block, choose concrete task first. Then, when your students are ready, move them on to the pictorial phase. It's important for our students to know that a pictorial model helps us to make a mental image of the concrete that we've been using. With this progression, students should have enough context to understand an abstract task. So if your students are struggling with an abstract task, that tells you that you need to take them back through the progress. Thank you.
This is the third grade one-pager for the 6 weeks. Okay, so looking at this one-pager for the upcoming 6 weeks, it does look very different, but that's also because we have the STAR test coming. So when we look to end grade, you're going to notice some differences within the specificity, and it's going to have our activities listed within each text, and we will point that out in just a little bit. After we finish STAR, there are going to be some different projects and fun activities to do that still tie back to third grade text that will help students prepare for fourth grade. It will require them to think about fractions and also multiplication, since those are areas that students need to grow rather quickly when they hit fourth grade. And of course, you will be continuing your intervention by looking at your data, thinking about how to differentiate it for your students, and it will be very focused for your classes. So we're going to talk about different parts with that. Okay, so now we're looking at third grade in the specificity part, and you'll notice immediately that in Unit 10 it looks very different from past specificities. So we still have the text on the left side, but in the right side, instead of having a breakdown of what that text is saying, it is notifying you which reporting category that these questions come from and how many questions are from that reporting category. Now again, within end grade this time, we are focusing on the readiness. So you will see several different activities listed under each reporting category. I'm going to go ahead and slowly move down to reporting category 2, because we'll remember this is where 40% of our STAR questions are going to come from. And you will notice that there are several different activities listed under for text 3-4A. Again, we're trying to provide a variety of options so you can go through and see which one works best for your kids and the data that your class has shown you. And also just to try some new things to keep the learning exciting and engaging, because we know kids need to keep practicing, but we don't want to pencil and paper them to death right before the test. You will also notice that there might be some lessons that say TCM, and for example, there's one over here, Lesson 8, Problem Solving with Multiplication. TCM stands for Teacher Created Materials, and this is a resource that we have purchased, and we have certain lessons that we have pulled from, so therefore it's very targeted. It is detailed to help our kids and stay focused. So again, as you keep going down through the different texts, you'll notice several different ideas and examples, things that you may have seen previously but have added with an added twist, or something that you didn't try previously but you want to go back and try now. And we welcome you to try all those out. There is also down in the resources where it says Star Review Math Activities. There's a giant list that gives other additional ideas to help support, like Jeopardy games or maybe building a Kahoot. So you can go through and read about those and make a Kahoot or a Jeopardy that fits what your class needs.
Okay, so we're going to be walking you through how to access your AWARE report so that you can pull data from DCAs and from other district administered tests. So from the AWARE screen on the left-hand side, you will notice that it will list all of the courses that fall under your name. So for our purposes today, we're going to click on the GT Math, and you will have the option of selecting DCA 1, DCA 2. If you need to access other documents, they would be there as well. For our purposes, we're going to look at DCA 2, Mathematics. Okay, so when your report aggregates, this is the screen that you'll see. You'll have student names on the left and local IDs, but we've cut those out for confidentiality purposes today. You'll also see the demographic data, and then it'll give you your statistical data for that particular test. It'll offer you the raw score, the percentage score, whether or not the child met the satisfactory cut score, and whether or not they achieved commended advanced. It'll also list the date taken. Those vary depending on when your tests were scanned and when the testing window was opened. Okay, if you want more detailed data, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up to the top where it says student scores. You'll notice that there's a drop-down arrow. And one of the two reports that will be of interest to you is the Student Learning Standard Breakdown. So we're going to click on that. So for the Student Learning Standard Breakdown, what this does is it gives you the percentage performance on individual standards by each kid. So from this report, you can glean whether you have a TEK that needs to be retaught as a whole group or whether you need to target specific students for specific standards. If you scroll over the standard itself, it will pull up the actual standard so you can know what it is rather than just the number. And then the additional piece that we'll want to look at is also in the drop-down menu at the top. We're going to look at student individual responses. For student individual responses, what you'll see is what the correct answer is and the incorrect answers that your students selected in red. So, for example, if this is my class, I am going to talk to my class about question number 5 because distractor C was the only other answer selected by the students. So I'm going to want to talk with my students about why they chose that particular answer and what the value of that distractor was. Okay, so any report that you pull in AWARE, you can export either as a PDF or an Excel. Myself, I prefer the Excel because I can manipulate the data and move it around to suit the needs that I have at that particular time. So we're going to go ahead and export. When you export, you'll notice on the bottom left-hand corner, just above your Start option, the reports will aggregate, and you can click on those and it will ask you where you would like to save it. Okay, so once you export to Excel, you can reconfigure and you can also dump information that's not necessarily valid to you at this time. So for our purposes, we don't particularly need the special ed indicator, the LEP, the gender, or the ethnicity. So you can highlight those columns and delete them with just the data and the students' names. You can also organize through data the order in which the data appears for you. The only disadvantage to exporting to Excel is you don't have the ability to hover over the TEKs and have it tell you what the standards are. Okay, so but from this data you can manipulate and get the report the way you want it.
Okay, our next review strategy is called Math Auction, and it's for you competitive friends out there. All right, for this one, students are provided with a sheet with 2 columns, and I'll give you an example in a moment. The left column has a set of questions, such as 10, and the right column has the answers to those questions. Some of them are correct and some are not. So from that point, you divide students into groups of 3 or 4 to create teams, and each group will have a paddle to indicate their team name or team number. The group starts with a set amount of money, such as $1,000, and in their group, students need to compare their answers to a particular question series. What questions have the correct answers? Which answers are incorrect? The goal for the team is to purchase the most correct questions. Purchasing an incorrect question will cause teams to lose a set amount, such as $500. If there is a tie, the team with the most money left over wins. When the auction starts, each group decides how much they want to bid for a question. Debates ensue over whether the answer provided is correct or not, and decisions must be made. After all the questions have been auctioned off, each problem is worked out and discussed whole group, and you count up at that time how many correct questions were purchased by each team to determine the winner.
Okay, so this activity is for our 3rd graders, and it is very similar to a generate, sort, connect, and elaborate. That was something we learned at the Institute way back in August, but we're kind of bringing out some of those ideas again to keep them fresh. On this particular one, as a teacher, I'm providing 4 words for the kids. You could have your students list a whole bunch of different math ideas that they've talked about this year, math topics. But again, for this particular one I'm modeling, I would have gone ahead and picked the 4 I want to talk about. And those are going to be perimeter, addition, money, and place value. So I would start off with just those 4 boxes, and then I would ask kids to either work on their own or maybe in a partner or even in a small group to help me figure out connections. How do these 4 ideas connect to one another? So as students are talking, they may come up with ideas like, well, I know I need to know addition in order to figure out the perimeter of a shape. So I'm going to take all the different sides and their lengths, add them together, and then I have perimeter. I know that perimeter and money connect because they're both measurement pieces. Place value, I'm going to have to think about place value for a moment. I know addition helps me with figuring out collections of money because I might have a few dimes and quarters and nickels, and I can get those different amounts of the coins and add them together to figure out the collection of money. Oh, place value, now I know. Place value helps me when I count my money. So this is just a little idea on what students can do to go back through and do some brainstorms of all the different topics you have covered this year and how they are all connected to one another. A final piece you could do is to have students come up with an elaboration statement on a final takeaway piece for each of these 4 ideas that you have given. That's going to be a little bit harder to do, so if you just need to do the connecting part, that is perfect. But if you want to push your learners to make that elaboration statement, I say go ahead and go for it. Okay, this next activity we're going to talk about is the operation sort. So you can feel free and use the problems we've put in grade, or you can also go back and use problems of the past that you have created or maybe you have in other resources on your campus. And the purpose of this activity is to really get kids to discuss how they would go about solving the problems, as well as why they chose that operation. So it's a great opportunity to build in number sentences, because we know sometimes they're going to see a number sentence versus just having the number as the answer. So again, this is a way that we can tribal merge several different ideas together. So we're just going to do a few of these problems. So our first problem says, Ben has 5 times as many pictures in his photo album as Jane has in her photo album. Jane has 7 pictures in her photo album. How many pictures does Ben have in his photo album? Well, I know Jane has 7 and Ben has 5 times as many pictures. So I'm picturing this problem is going to be a multiplication problem because I could show it with a strip diagram of Jane's on top was 7. Better yet, let's show that. Here's Jane with 7. And Ben has 5 times that. So his strip's going to be much larger. There's 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Oh my goodness, and I ran out of room. 7 times. And then we know each part of Ben would be 7, 7, 7, 7. Oh, 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Teachers make mistakes too. So Ben's is 5 times as large as Jane's. So we have 1 7, 2 7s, 3 7s, 4 7s, 5 7s. So I see this as a multiplication problem because I have 7 5 times over. So that's why I chose to put that one as a multiplication problem. The next problem we drew from our stack says Julie has 65 more trading cards than Lucy. Lucy has 43. How many cards does Julie have? Julie sounds like she has most of them. So again, we could do a strip model, or we could even show it as a different kind of number sentence. So I know Julie, her number is going to be larger than Lucy's number. So Lucy has 43. And Julie has 65 more than Lucy. Oh, so that tells me that Julie will equal 43 plus the 65. So students might move this over to an addition problem, which hopefully they would see and understand why. This next problem has a red hat costs $18 and a blue hat costs $6. How many times as much does the red hat cost as the blue hat? On some of these problems, you might have students in a debate because some child might see it as 18 divided by the $6 to just have that math fact where they know 6 times 3 is 18. Or you might have children see it as the multiplication problem because they're thinking 6 times something equals the 18. Or they could even have it as repeated subtraction or even possibly as a repeated addition. So again, there are ways to incorporate how could this problem be an addition problem? How could this problem be viewed as a division problem? And again, it's a great way to get that academic conversation and to get kids really thinking about the operations and how division connects with subtraction. How does addition connect with multiplication? So again, lots of different ways that you can use this problem and to understand students' thinking and understanding.
Okay, this activity is called What Went Wrong, and it gives students a chance to look at some problems, but also to analyze some mathematical computations that may have gone a bit wrong as they were solving it, because we know sometimes even our strongest kids have an off day and they forget what 8 plus 2 is. So this is an opportunity to look at some problems and have either teacher solved with some mistakes within it, or even students go back and look at a past assessment that they have taken in class and to go back and analyze and see what went wrong with this problem. So this particular example were a few questions from Lead Forward, but as I've mentioned, you can go ahead and use examples from past assessments where you're borrowing that question and solving it and making a mistake, and that way your students are able to explain what went wrong as you were solving it. Or you can even have students analyze previous classwork or assessments from throughout the year. This idea is called true or false. You can use it in several different ways. This particular example that we're looking at gives a data piece, and that way we're going back to helping students reflect on their understanding of what they know about graphs and different parts of data. So on this particular one, we're going to use the graph on baseball games to help us solve these true or false statements. Now, one thing I want to make sure that we emphasize here is that students aren't just going to mark down T for true and F for false. We really want them to go back and be able to justify their thinking, because number one, it's going to give you an opportunity to understand what they're thinking and where they're coming from, but also how to clean up and clarify some of those misconceptions. So with this particular example, again, we've provided a graph, but you could also do true or false with any other common assessments you've given in class or any other questions or resource materials you have available. So again, true or false is just another activity to do to help your students prepare for STAR, but not necessarily always have a pencil and paper type activity.
Okay. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be looking at the review strategies for the 5th grade review unit, which is Unit 7. The problems that we've selected for today's demonstration are from the TEAC 5.4b, and the first strategy we're going to talk about is called SCOOT, and you can find this in the resources section on the actual curriculum unit. So for SCOOT, what you will do is you will put your kids into groups of 4, and each desk will have a problem on it. After the students complete the problem, they are going to turn their problems over as such. And when all 4 members of the table have finished, they then scoot either clockwise or counterclockwise so that they can move to the next problem. When all 4 problems have been completed, the students will then converse with one another to determine an agreed upon answer for each one of the questions. And they will record each question answer onto a post-it and place it on the exit board at the front of the room. And that is the SCOOT review.
Okay, so now that we have talked about STAR and we feel a little bit more prepared for pre-STAR, this final unit is what we're going to focus on post-STAR. It is Unit 11, Bridging the Gap. We want to make sure our 3rd graders have a strong foundation to get ready for those 4th grade math texts. So some specifics we've gone back to reinforce include our fractions and multiplication and division. So again, you can go through and read the unit summary and the big ideas. There are also the essential questions are within this unit. And then as you move down to the standards and specificity, you will notice that it's back to our traditional format where we have the text on the left side and a breakdown of the text on the right side. So again, it gives us the process text and different ideas on what to target, and then it goes back to the content text and how to help our kids and some other ideas and examples. Okay, so now that we are looking at the post-STAR learning plan, it has gone back to our traditional format, but you will notice some differences as you look through the format of the learning plan, specifically with small groups and stations. It says that small group time can be used to target text instructions for the students needing extra help. Again, this is where that data piece from AWARE, from your common assessments, and from different tests, quizzes, things you've observed in the classroom really come into play. This is when you want to pull students according to their needs to help further develop them and provide that strong support before summer vacation. So again, that small group time is going to be very differentiated for your students. It's going to be very focused on what each child needs, and it's going to look very different for all your kids you're servicing. With the lesson part, it's hard to believe that after STAR you have about 12 days. So I know there's going to be a lot of things going on in those 12 days, but we want to provide you some different activities
to get the kids still engaged in learning and active in their math development. So there are different projects listed that you can go through and check out, including design a room project. There's a family adventure. And then one of my favorites is design your own Minecraft characters, which could also lead into some coding and other computer building skills to get kids excited about using math in the real world. We also provided additional support activities for fractions that come from the TCM, the teacher created materials. So please feel free to use those as well.
Hello, fabulous third grade math teachers. Here is a quick rundown of the Minecraft Pixel Person project, which should be a great way to spend the last few days or weeks of school. First, you'll have a list of materials for the paper portion of it, where you will make a Minecraft person and do all kinds of math with it. Perimeter, area, fractions, decimals, everything. Aren't Steve and Alex handsome and beautiful? Next, you can go to code.org and have your kids learn a little bit of coding and use Minecraft to engage them in math. First thing you should do yourself is go to code.org and sign up. Create a new class or section, give it a name. If you have multiple sections, you can create multiple classes, multiple sections that you teach. The ITSs recommend that you start with Star Wars, the Star Wars course, because it's the first one, it's the easiest one, it's really the introductory course for the coding, and it's tons of fun. I promise you, your students will be instantly engaged. So after you name your course, and name your section, and you choose your course, save your section. You can then add multiple students. If you have their names already in a document, then you can simply cut and paste. It's really easy to add multiple students. I recommend going with just their first names. That's how they'll log in, but whatever is easiest. After you click done, you will have your list of students, and they'll need a password, and their password is through a secret word, and it's actually usually 2 words, and it's just kind of 2 random words. So have them write it down, or you will be providing it for them every time they log in. At the bottom of that page is the link to your specific course. So this will take you to the course that you just created for your section of students. I like to share this link with them through Google Docs shared with the students or through Google Classroom, but you certainly feel free to share the link with them in whatever way you want. After you've done that, have students follow the link. They will click on their name. They will put in their secret word, and it will take them right to the Star Wars or the Minecraft course. It will open up with the introductory video, which will be very engaging and hopefully hook them on math and coding for a good time to come. If you need any help at all, don't hesitate to ask your ITS. He or she would love to help with this. They would be very impressed that you're doing coding. Take this moment to relax. Just think, in a few months, you could be at the beach. Please click on the triangle, square, circle link to complete this course. Congratulations.